Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something profound, something ancient yet eternally relevant. A woman who rises with God stands strong forever. Why? Because she aligns herself with truth, responsibility, and faith, forces that no chaos can break. Imagine for a moment the archetype of strength. It's not found in mere physical power or societal status. No, it is found in resilience, an unshakable force that is cultivated through responsibility. When a woman takes on the weight of her own existence, not as a victim, but as an agent of transformation, she becomes something indestructible. True strength is not given, it is earned. It emerges from the fire of struggle, the burden of responsibility, and the unwavering commitment to something greater than oneself. A woman who rises with God does not merely survive the storms of life. She becomes the force that endures, reshapes, and ultimately transcends them. The key to this transformation is responsibility, a concept that has been eroded in modern culture but remains the foundation of an indestructible spirit. Responsibility is not a burden to be avoided, but a pathway to meaning. A woman who accepts responsibility for her life, her choices, and her suffering is a woman who takes control of her destiny. She does not wait for circumstances to improve before she takes action. She takes action despite the circumstances. This is the fundamental difference between those who crumble under adversity and those who rise above it. Take, for example, the story of a woman who faces betrayal. Perhaps she trusted deeply and was deceived, left broken by the actions of someone she loved. The modern world might tell her she is a victim, that she should hold on to resentment and demand restitution. But what does that path lead to? Bitterness, weakness, dependence on others to fix what has been broken. The alternative, though much harder, is to take responsibility, not for the betrayal itself, but for the response to it, to refuse to be destroyed by it, to rise with faith, knowing that her strength is not defined by what was done to her, but by what she chooses to do in return. This choice to bear suffering rather than be crushed by it is the essence of strength, and it is no small thing. It requires sacrifice, the sacrifice of self-pity, the sacrifice of resentment, the sacrifice of the easy path. But in that sacrifice, something remarkable happens. The woman who embraces her suffering with purpose does not merely endure, she transforms, she learns, she grows. She becomes someone capable of withstanding even greater storms. There is a deep truth here, one that is echoed in both religious and psychological traditions. In the Christian story, Christ takes on the sins of the world, not because he must, but because in doing so, he redeems. He transforms suffering into meaning. This is not just an abstract theological concept, it is a psychological reality. The woman who chooses to carry her burden with grace does not become weaker, she becomes indestructible. And here's the crucial point. This transformation is available to every woman, regardless of where she starts. Life is unfair. No one disputes that. Some are born into suffering, others encounter it later. But fairness is irrelevant when it comes to responsibility. The moment a woman decides that she will carry her suffering instead of being buried by it, she steps into a power that cannot be taken away. But how does one do this in practice? How does a woman bear responsibility when life feels overwhelming? The first step is to tell the truth, not just to others, but to herself. What is she avoiding? What pain is she refusing to confront? Where is she allowing weakness to dictate her choices? Strength begins with honesty, because only when the truth is acknowledged can it be faced. The next step is discipline. A woman who rises does not indulge in destructive habits, whether those habits are external laziness, distraction, self-sabotage, or internal bitterness, resentment, self-doubt. She structures her life, she sets goals, she aims at something meaningful and moves toward it even when it is difficult, especially when it is difficult. And finally, she does not do it alone. A woman who rises with God understands that her strength is not merely personal, it is spiritual. She aligns herself with something greater than her own willpower. She prays, She seeks wisdom. She humbles herself before truth, recognizing that the greatest strength comes not from arrogance, but from faith. Over time, something extraordinary happens. She changes. Not in a temporary, superficial way, but in a fundamental, permanent way. She becomes the kind of woman who does not bend under pressure, who does not seek excuses, who does not allow hardship to define her. She becomes the kind of woman who others look to in times of crisis because they recognize that she is different, she is grounded, unshaken, powerful, and that power, it lasts. It is not dependent on youth or wealth or external validation. It is the kind of power that endures because it is built on the eternal principles of responsibility, faith, and truth. A woman who rises with God does not merely survive, she stands strong forever. Life is a constant interplay between two fundamental forces, order and chaos. Order represents structure, stability, and predictability. It is the foundation of civilization, the known world where things make sense. Chaos, on the other hand, is the unpredictable, the unknown, the domain of suffering and transformation. These two forces exist in everything, from nature to human relationships, from personal growth to societal structures. A woman who rises with God understands this balance and does not shy away from chaos. Instead, she embraces it with faith, knowing that it is through navigating the unknown that she becomes truly strong. In childhood, a girl exists largely in a world of order. Her parents provide structure, setting rules and boundaries that make life feel secure. But as she grows, chaos inevitably enters, perhaps in the form of loss, betrayal, or failure. The temptation is always to retreat, to stay within the confines of what is known and safe. But that is not the path of strength. Strength comes from voluntarily stepping into the unknown, confronting it, and integrating the lessons it provides. This is the very essence of faith. Not blind belief, but the willingness to step forward even when the outcome is uncertain. Consider the biblical story of Esther. She was a young woman thrown into chaos, taken from her home and placed in a foreign palace, forced to navigate political dangers beyond her understanding. She could have surrendered to fear, she could have remained silent, but instead she chose to rise with faith, risking everything to save her people. That is what it means to walk the line between order and chaos with God, knowing that even when the future is uncertain, there is a higher order at work, one that rewards courage and truth. And this applies to every aspect of life. A woman who refuses to face the unknown will always remain weak, dependent on external structures for her sense of security. She will cling to what is familiar, even if it is harming her. How often do people stay in destructive relationships because they fear the uncertainty of leaving? How many suppress their dreams because the path to achieving them is filled with risk? The avoidance of chaos does not lead to peace, it leads to stagnation. Yet diving into chaos recklessly is also a mistake. A woman must be grounded in truth before she can face the unknown successfully. This is why faith is so important. It provides an anchor when the world seems unstable. Without faith, chaos overwhelms. With faith, chaos becomes an opportunity for transformation. Imagine a woman facing the loss of a loved one. Grief is chaos in its purest form, the sudden void where there was once presence, the disorientation of a world that no longer makes sense. She has a choice. She can allow the chaos to consume her, drowning in sorrow and bitterness, or she can face it with faith. This does not mean ignoring the pain. It means trusting that there is meaning beyond suffering, that even loss can lead to wisdom and deeper compassion. It means choosing to build rather than to be destroyed. This is also true in the broader world. Society itself is constantly shifting between order and chaos. Too much order becomes tyranny, rigid structures that suffocate growth and creativity. Too much chaos becomes anarchy, destruction with no direction. A strong woman recognizes this balance and refuses to be swept away by ideology or fear. She does not cling blindly to tradition simply because it is familiar, nor does she embrace every change simply because it is new. Instead, she discerns, she aligns herself with truth, guided by principles that transcend the temporary fluctuations of culture. And what happens when she does this? She becomes someone others rely on. In a world where many are lost, confused, angry, directionless, she stands firm. Not because she has all the answers, but because she understands the pattern. She knows that chaos is not to be feared, but to be faced. She knows that order is not to be worshipped, but to be refined. She becomes, in a sense, a bridge between the two, a force of stability in times of crisis and a force of transformation when growth is needed. This is why a woman who rises with God stands strong forever. Because she is not anchored in circumstances, which change. She is not dependent on external validation, which fades. She is rooted in something deeper, the understanding that life is a dance between what is known and unknown, between order and chaos, and that walking this path with faith makes her truly unbreakable. Every meaningful life is built on sacrifice. To achieve anything of value, something must be given up. A woman who rises with God understands that sacrifice is not a loss, but a transformation. It is an exchange, giving up what is weak to gain what is strong, relinquishing comfort for the sake of growth, surrendering the temporary to attain the eternal. This is not an easy path, but it is the only path to true strength. Throughout history, sacrifice has been the foundation of every great story. In ancient times, people understood that to receive blessings, they had to offer something of value. This was not mere superstition. It was a deep truth about how life operates. Nothing comes without cost. If a woman wants wisdom, she must sacrifice ignorance. If she wants love, she must sacrifice selfishness. If she wants strength, she must sacrifice weakness. The refusal to sacrifice leads to stagnation, and stagnation leads to suffering. Consider a woman who wants to change her life, perhaps to break free from destructive habits, to build a meaningful career, or to repair broken relationships. The moment she decides to rise, she is faced with a choice: hold on to what is easy or step into what is difficult. She must sacrifice old ways of thinking, comfortable routines, and even certain people who keep her trapped in weakness. This is painful. Change always is. But without this sacrifice, nothing new can emerge. This is why faith is essential. The hardest sacrifices are the ones made in uncertainty, giving up something without knowing what will replace it. A woman of faith does not demand immediate rewards. She understands that sacrifice often feels like loss before it feels like gain. She does not demand that the outcome be revealed before she takes action. She trusts that doing what is right will lead to something greater, even if she cannot yet see it. A mother, for instance, sacrifices for her children. She gives up sleep, comfort, personal freedom. At times, it may feel as though she is losing herself. But in this sacrifice, she is not diminished. She is transformed. She becomes stronger, wiser, more capable of love than she ever thought possible. The same is true for any woman who dedicates herself to something beyond herself. Sacrifice does not destroy her. It builds her into someone who can withstand anything. This principle applies to suffering as well. Every person will experience pain, loss, betrayal, hardship. Many see suffering as meaningless, a cruel joke of existence, but suffering, when approached with faith, can become the highest form of sacrifice. Instead of allowing pain to turn her bitter, a strong woman offers it up, turning it into wisdom, compassion, and resilience. She refuses to let suffering make her a victim. She transforms it into something powerful. The ultimate example of sacrifice is found in Christ. He bore suffering not because he was weak, but because he chose to. He willingly took on the pain of the world, and in doing so brought redemption. This is the model of true strength, not avoiding suffering, but facing it with purpose. A woman who follows this example does not collapse under the weight of hardship. She stands tall, knowing that her suffering is not in vain. Modern culture often rejects sacrifice. It promotes the idea that happiness should be immediate, that struggle should be avoided, that one should never have to give up anything. But this leads nowhere. A life without sacrifice is a life without meaning. Without sacrifice, there is no growth, no achievement, no transformation. The woman who refuses to sacrifice may avoid temporary pain, but she will never reach her full potential. She will remain stuck, trapped by her own unwillingness to let go of what holds her back. But the woman who understands sacrifice is free. She does not see struggle as a punishment, but as a process. She does not cling to what is small because she knows something greater awaits. She becomes the kind of person who can endure any trial, not because she is immune to pain, but because she knows that pain can be turned into something beautiful. And this strength, this ability to sacrifice and transform, is what makes her stand forever. She does not build her life on fleeting pleasures or temporary comforts. She builds it on something eternal. And because of that, nothing can shake her. Growth is not automatic. It does not happen simply because time passes or because one wishes for it. A woman who rises with God understands that strength is not found in staying still, but in continuously striving upward. She does not settle for mediocrity, nor does she allow herself to be defined by past failures. Instead, she sees life as a constant process of refinement, a journey of becoming more than she was yesterday. To aim upward means to have a vision, something beyond the present moment, something that calls one forward. Without this, life becomes stagnant. It is easy to fall into the routine of doing what is comfortable, of making choices based on convenience rather than purpose. But comfort, though pleasant, does not lead to greatness. It does not build resilience, wisdom, or character. A woman who wants to stand strong forever must be willing to step beyond what is easy and into what is necessary. This requires discipline. Strength is not something that simply appears one day. It is built through effort, through small, consistent actions that accumulate over time. A woman who desires wisdom must discipline her mind, choosing to read, to think, to seek truth rather than indulge in distraction. A woman who desires physical strength must discipline her body, making choices that prioritize health and vitality. A woman who desires a strong faith must discipline her spirit, dedicating time to prayer, reflection, and moral living. None of these things happen by accident. They happen because of intention, because of a conscious decision to aim higher. Aiming upward also means refusing to be defined by the past. Many people carry the weight of past mistakes, allowing them to dictate their future. But a woman who walks with God understands that failure is not the end of the story. She does not wallow in regret. She learns from it. She does not allow guilt to paralyze her. She uses it as fuel to become better. There is always a way forward, no matter how many times one has fallen. But that way forward requires action. It requires choosing to rise rather than remain where it is safe. Faith plays a crucial role in this journey. The path upward is often unclear, and fear can easily take hold. A woman may question whether she is capable, whether she is strong enough to take on the challenges before her. But faith reminds her that she does not walk alone. She does not have to rely solely on her own strength. She has access to something far greater. Trusting in God's plan does not mean passivity. It means moving forward even when the destination is uncertain, believing that each step taken in faith will lead to something greater. There will always be resistance. The higher one aims, the more challenges arise. Doubts creep in. People may criticize, attempting to pull down those who dare to rise. The temptation to give up becomes strong. But a woman who is truly committed to growth does not let opposition deter her. She understands that difficulty is part of the process. Just as a tree strengthens its roots by enduring storms, she strengthens herself by overcoming adversity. She also understands the importance of surrounding herself with others who are striving for the same thing. Growth is difficult when one is constantly surrounded by negativity, by those who discourage progress. A wise woman chooses her influences carefully. She seeks mentors, friends, and communities that uplift rather than hinder. She listens to voices that push her toward truth rather than comfort. This path is not easy, but it is the only one that leads to true strength. To aim upward is to reject complacency, to refuse to remain the same year after year. It is to understand that life's greatest rewards are found not in avoiding struggle, but in overcoming it. A woman who rises with God knows that the journey of growth never ends. There is always more to learn, more to achieve, more to become. And because she never stops reaching higher, she stands strong forever. A woman who rises with God stands strong forever because she embraces responsibility, walks the line between order and chaos with faith, builds her foundation on truth, understands the necessity of sacrifice, and continuously strives for growth. She does not seek an easy life, she seeks a meaningful one. She does not avoid suffering, she transforms it into strength. She does not remain stagnant, she moves forward with purpose. Her strength is not found in external validation, fleeting success, or momentary comfort. It is rooted in something deeper, her unwavering faith, her commitment to truth, and her willingness to carry the burdens that life presents. She knows that every challenge is an opportunity to become stronger, that every sacrifice is an investment in something greater, and that every step forward, no matter how small, is part of a larger journey toward purpose and resilience. In a world that often promotes weakness, dependency, and victimhood, she chooses the harder path, the path of responsibility, courage, and faith. And because of this, she cannot be broken. She does not crumble under pressure, nor does she allow the trials of life to define her. Instead, she rises. Again and again, she rises. And because she rises with God, she stands strong forever.